HR like a boss is someone that doesn't just take orders. They offer up their opinion. They take their job and take their knowledge and take their body of work and lean on that and say, well, let me offer my opinion here.
Welcome to the HR Like a Boss video series. If it resonates with you, please consider liking and subscribing or sharing with a friend. In the description, you will see a social media link for the complete podcast interview. I'd also love to see if you'd be willing to take the HR Like a Boss survey at willery.com/HRLAB. I've embarked on a journey to get to know amazingly awesome HR and business professionals, and these conversations will create the foundation for a book I'm working on what it takes to do HR like a boss. And on today's episode, I'm delighted to be joined by Brad Owens. Brad is a friend, a colleague, a fellow disruptor, and a talent enthusiast. Brad, welcome to the show.
John, it's an absolute pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.
It's been too long. You're looking good. You've got the best setup of any podcast guest I've had so far. So I have a feeling this is not your first rodeo, my friend.
Yeah, podcast guest that now has 2 podcasts under his belt. That's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah, you got it. Cool. Awesome. Well, for those that don't know you, Brad, why don't you share a little bit with our audience what you've been up to lately and what you're working on?
Yeah, sure. So I have over a decade of actual external recruiting experience. I used to recruit a very specific niche that gave me some insight into a whole lot of different talent strategies at a lot of different companies. Most of the Fortune 500, I ended up working with them. After about 10 years of doing that, I realized that hiring was absolutely broken. So I decided that I wanted to help some smaller businesses actually get it right, because those first couple employees, as you know, as a small business, can make or break everything. So I wanted to really impact these small businesses. I started out on my own doing a consulting business around hiring. That came with a podcast. If you want to look it up, HR Coaching. It's a small business hiring podcast if you need some tips. Then after doing that for about 2 years, I was up on stage, had a company approach me coming off stage from a speaking engagement. Next thing I knew, I was leading their talent acquisition and development department. And now I've actually completely started career 2.0, but I'm still in the staffing space, believe it or not. And I am helping larger companies as a software as a service, helping them actually run their recruiting departments better and faster.
If you don't mind, let's start by my typical first question, which talks a little bit about the purpose of human resources. How would you define that, Brad?
So, in my world, it's a little different than I think most people observe the Toby of human resources, right? Like the office has screwed us from the beginning of making us the Tobys. In my world, I feel like human resources is about the best possible consultant for the business. There are so many things that have to run through human resources that I feel like if human resources puts a consulting spin on what they're doing, they can absolutely change the trajectory of a business.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, so taking a consultative approach, which in my bet has a lot to do with understanding the challenges and needs, the gaps that exist, and then really delivering for your customer, right? Which in the spirit of HR is every employee in the company, which I think causes some of the challenge, which kind of leads me to that. So, like, what do you think prevents a traditional HR professional from feeling like they can be consultative and delivering on that purpose to the employees, to the company, to the community?
I think too many people that start in HR early on in their career take the role of being much more of um, a task taker and a doer. So someone, particularly from a talent acquisition side, they may have their first or second hiring manager come to them and say, "Hey, I've got this accountant role that I need to fill." And they say, "Cool, I'll go out and find one of those." And that's as far as the conversation goes. And it leads to a whole lot of heartburn for the hiring manager, for the talent, for the recruiter, because there's a lot of level setting at the beginning of, okay, is this what you want? No, that's way off. Okay, is this what you want? No, that's way off. Why is it taking so long to find somebody? Well, so from the start, if folks would take much more of a consultative approach to this, they could start off, hey, I need to find an accountant. Cool. Let me tell you a little bit about the market right now for accountants. It might take a little while because of X, Y, and Z, but out in the market, there might not be these kind of people. What do you think about these kind of people? Total different relationship with the business when you do that. So the big thing that I would say that holds a lot of people back is they don't take that consultative approach, and instead they want to just be a order taker.
Do you think maybe the combination of why the HR is not asking the questions is that when they feel like they're interrogating the other person, and all of a sudden HR has that persona of like, oh, why are you asking? Like all of a sudden the person on the other side, non-HR, is like, why are you asking me all these questions?
That
There's
certainly
a barrier
happens.
there that exists.
Yeah, when I was working internal HR, I certainly saw that. There was a lot of, oh no, HR's on the floor. Like, watch what you're doing. Oh, but HR is here. And if you've got that kind of mentality in your business, you got a lot of work to do. One, but two, it's all about setting expectations. Every single thing that you can do when you are in a potentially contentious situation is setting expectations. So starting off the conversation with, hey, I'm going to ask you a whole lot of questions. It's not because of X. It's because I really want to do my best to help you. And here's why. Here's why I need these questions answered. Here's why we're going to go through this. Once you set that expectation, it'll be a whole lot easier for them to open up and actually answer your questions honestly.
All right. Well, I know you know how to do this because I would describe you as someone that does HR like a boss. But if you had the opportunity to share with our audience, what would be the simple way you would describe someone doing HR like a boss?
Well, I will take that compliment. HR like a boss is someone that doesn't just take orders. They offer up their opinion. They take their job and take their knowledge and take their body of work and lean on that and say, well, let me offer my opinion here. They're someone who is not afraid to insert themselves into uncomfortable situations and handling it with absolute grace. So an HR like a boss is a person that's not going to be afraid. They're going to jump right in and they're going to be okay inserting themselves into conversations.
Yeah, that's awesome. That confidence is terribly important. I think it's a cornerstone of doing any sort of business or anything in life successfully. You got to believe in yourself and believe in what you know. And when you don't know, I think a theme to today's conversation was about asking a lot of questions and kind of following things through. I know you talked a little bit about your definition of HR and its purpose is being consultative, being the best possible consultant an HR professional can be, making sure that we're properly setting expectations so that you can drive that hiring manager through a very successful hiring process, or if you need to reset expectations, make sure you're doing that in a very clear and communicative way. Make sure that when we're asking those questions to tell me more about that. That's the one that you said and kind of leaned into. Tell me more about what you mean. Tell me more about the situation that you're facing, that open-ended question. And then you use the word unrivaled transparency. So your ability to just be open, candid, and honest about what's going on. And to be perfectly honest with everyone, we had a little snafu in the middle of our podcast. Brad's dog got out, right? First lost dog on the podcast show. We took a pause because we didn't want anybody to be alarmed, right? But Brad, you want to give an update on the dog and everybody's okay?
Well, for everyone on video, here you go. This is a reason to come watch a video podcast. He is here. Mr. Golden Retriever Bruce Wayne is back. He's no longer in his bat cave. He has surfaced. But yeah, thankfully we live in a great neighborhood with lots of neighbors that know us.
How awesome. Yeah. At a point in the show, Brad's son very knowingly tried to be a good, kid and child. And right there he goes, all happy, right? Let the dog out, but then forgot to close the gate. And luckily for the chip and the friendly neighbors, the dog wasn't lost for more than a second or two.
Best podcast recording of all time.
Yeah. And hopefully your wife isn't listening, because I know if I lost the dog while I was on a podcast, I'd be in a spirit of trouble.
Well, now we're all in a circle of trust because my son did make me promise that I would tell no one about this. So we're circle of trust here.
Okay. All right. Well, all right. Unrivaled transparency. Maybe. Is that the definition of it or what?
There you go.
Yeah. Well, Brad, it's always a pleasure. Great to catch up with you, and continued success.
Really appreciate it. Best of luck with the book.
Got it. So thank you everyone for checking out today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share with a friend. And until next time, let's continue to aspire to do amazingly awesome HR.